Well, hi there, this is DBT, and alright, it's time for another En Tuk micro showcase. And today we're not actually gonna have a micro showcase, instead it's gonna be a long showcase. Because of course, we're gonna be looking, finally, at a weapon that I've been meaning to show you for a long time, and it's finally time to do it. Of course, we're talking about the plasma rifle, or plasma gun. I don't know, rifle sounds better, right? And okay, so this weapon you have seen me use before in other videos, and you know how it works. It's not a secret that, you know, it just fires plasma bolts and that's about it. Of course, what's interesting about this weapon is how it interacts in regards to some of its upgrades. But let's just have a quick look at the regular fire, you know. Fire a bunch of projectiles, no big deal. One thing that changed, you know, since the original teaser trailer for, really just a teaser for En Tuk, is the fact that now when you kill something with this weapon, much like in Doom Eternal, it just goes into electric giblets, because it's fun, and it will always do this against any enemy that you kill with it. Now, this actually doesn't deal any additional damage to enemies nearby or anything, it's just a visual effect, but you know, it just looks cool when you're shooting a bunch of things and they just go into giblets and a little bit of electricity here and there. It just looks kind of nice. So that's it. That's it about the regular plasma rifle, because of course it doesn't have a whole lot more than that going to it. It's a really powerful weapon, but it's actually not as rare as you might think in En Tuk. Let me just tell you that it won't take as long for you to find this weapon as it would otherwise in normal Doom. But yeah, that's the standard plasma rifle. So I think it's a good time to start digging into what you actually came here to watch. Of course, the modules. And the first module that we're going to be looking at is the Heat Blast. Now, you know how this works also. It's I would dare to say that it's pretty much the meta upgrade or module for this weapon in Doom Eternal. And I don't expect it to be too different in this game, but let's have a quick look at it. Now, at the moment, the heads-up display doesn't have information as to when your weapon is charged, because I haven't implemented that just yet. At this moment, I'm not working on that, I'm working on the actual behavior of the weapons. But, on the other hand, the weapon still works as it should now. So you can see that I have 300 ammunition at this point, and this is going to charge one level of the, let's say, Heat Blast charge after 25 shots, which is exactly how it works in Doom Eternal. Now, you will be able to see that my weapon sprite already changed a little bit, even though I haven't reached that charge level, just because it's a sort of an indicator of how your weapon is charging. That, like I said, it only happens at 25 shots, so when I reach 275 is when you're gonna hit the beep, and you can see that my weapon sprite changed again. So at this point I have the first charge, and if I use it, of course, I release all the heat for, let's say, a level 1 explosion, which has a blue aura to it. So again, this happens at 25 shots, and you're able to shoot it. So that's the first level of it. Of course, if you charge it for longer, there's the first beep, then you have the second beep, and then the explosion is of another color. Now it's a purple explosion, indicating that it's the second level. And finally, of course, there's the third level, when you fire all the way up to 75 shots, which of course is going to take a while, but you know, that's just how this weapon works. And you can hear the very distinct beep, and now your weapon looks all red and angry. And once you shoot it, well, you're going to be dealing a ton of damage with this thing. So that's the basic functionality of this thing, right? It's no surprise how it works, and it's just fun to be blowing away some enemies with it. It's really good for comboing some stuff. Now, the one thing that I do want to mention is that while this this works like this in Doom Eternal, so I'm just making this little note because it's gonna come in handy in one of the upgrades. Once you shoot the Heat Blast, I'm holding fire, and it takes this long for it to be able to shoot again. I'm gonna do it again. I will press Alt Fire to expel all the heat, and then hold fire, and you'll see how long it takes. That's how long it takes for it to start refiring. And this is, again, something that happens in Doom Eternal. While you're doing this, while you're waiting, you can still switch weapon away. So that's not a problem, but it's still something that you need to consider in case you're just planning to use this weapon. So again, quick switching comes to the rescue, but you know, I'm just talking specifically about the behavior when you're using this weapon alone. Now let's look at the upgrades for this thing, because you know, the modules in En Tuk also have their respective upgrades, although with a little bit of degree of liberties that I take when I'm making this mod. So let's do some developer magic and go for the first upgrade, which is going to be the shorter cooldown. Like I was saying, it takes a while for it to refire after you use the Heat Blast. However, once you have this, it's gonna decrease that time. So I'm gonna do the same, press Alt fire and hold primary fire so that you see how long it takes. And now you can see that it's considerably faster. It's not extremely fast, but it's still better than it was before. So that still will allow you to fire a bit sooner, but again, it doesn't matter because you can always switch away when you're waiting. You can just switch away and that's about it. But that's the first upgrade. Now let's have a look at the second upgrade, which is the superheated round. Now what this means is that instead of every 25 shots, this thing is gonna be able to charge one level of the explosion or the hit blast after 20 shots. So that's considerably faster too. So I was at 300 when I reached 280, you saw that it charged. When I reached 260, it's gonna do it again, and 240, and there we are. So now, of course, it charges faster, and with the previous upgrade, now it also recharges faster, you know, or reloads faster. Now let's have a look at the mastery of this module, and that is the power surge. What this means is that once you fire this thing all the, you hit it up all the way, I should say, and you release this thing, then you're gonna be able to fire red plasma shots. And these of course deal a ton more damage than your standard shots, and it only lasts for about 5 seconds, so you have a bit of a tiny window of time to deal a bunch of damage. Now I know you want to see a bit of action with this thing, so how about I just summon a monster, or a few, because why the hell not, and just let you see how fun this can be when you just boom everybody. Now, I just realized that I actually wanted these guys to explode into giblets, so that's something that is going to be changing so that it always looks like that, because you know, it's always fun just to see a bunch of giblets flying around. But yeah, that does it for this upgrade, for this module, however the hell you want to call it. This is pretty strong, but it's a matter of balancing, and like I keep saying over and over, all the balancing in the mod at the moment is work in progress. So please don't come at me telling like, oh, this doesn't look like it deals enough damage, or oh, this looks overpowered. We're not at this point, okay? So alright, that's it for that module. Now let's have a look at the other one, which I know that you're waiting for. And of course we're talking about the microwave beam. Now, if you know my thoughts on Doom Eternal and some of the things that I like and some of the things that I don't, you know that I've never been a fan of this module. I've always thought that the idea was really neat, but the execution, I don't know, it wasn't really what I was expecting. I've been really unhappy with it. I never used it because I've always felt that it makes you too slow. It uses a lot of ammunition for the very little damage that it deals. And while it's really cool, I'm gonna be referring this, by the way, as freezing the enemy while you're using the beam on them. So it's really cool that it freezes the enemy when you're shooting them with it, but it to me doesn't justify how slow it makes you. Considering how much mobility is important in Doom Eternal, I just don't enjoy how slow it makes you and all the ammunition that you're wasting while I could just pull out the ballista and deal a lot more damage in no time. So I wanted to, of course, to make some changes here. And by the way, it doesn't matter how many people come at me saying that, oh no, but if you combo it right with this weapon and you use it in this particular situation, you can get a no. To me, that's just splitting hair. Even Hugo Martin doesn't like it. I mean, he says that it's really cool and all, but in the streams where, you know, he has been doing his playthrough of Doom Eternal, he avoided picking it up. Instead, he went for the Heat Blast, because the reality is that Heat Blast is so much simpler. It's a passive charge, and you can use it whenever you want, deal a bunch of damage, no setup required. And that's what bothers me about this module. So again, I try to do something different here, and this is, I know, where I'm gonna lose a bunch of people. Because if there's any diehard fans of this module watching this, yeah, this is gonna be different. All right, let's just jump into it. If you know me, my taste, and if you know Quake, you know what's coming. This is basically a lightning gun. You don't need to be locking onto anything. You just use Alt Fire. The thing starts spinning again with that beautiful animation by Franco, and you can start shooting. And that's it. It's basically a lightning gun. You can see it has a limited range. Right now I'm hitting the wall, but if I walk far away, no more sparks because I'm not hitting anything. So yeah, that's basically what it does. You don't need to lock onto anything. You can just start shooting. And speaking of that, let's just start killing something with. Now, one thing I want you to notice is how slow it uses ammunition, and it doesn't kill this dude super quickly. And that is on purpose. I didn't want this to be a massive damage dealer, I still think that being able to freeze the enemy is useful, and freezing them plus dealing a ton of damage just seems too overpowered, so instead it doesn't deal a ton of damage. But unlike in Doom Eternal, it doesn't use all your ammunition in the process, so that's why I made it use very little ammunition. So now you have the basic of it. I want to show you also how there's actually an explosion once you kill an enemy with it. Now this explosion, it's actually, in this particular case, it's a small explosion because you're killing a really weak enemy with it. But the bigger the enemy, the bigger the explosion. I want to show you that too. But also, something else that I think it's worth noting here is that notice I'm killing these small dudes, but my weapon at no point will stop firing. In Doom Eternal, whenever you kill something with this weapon, it will stop the gun. In here, I'm killing the small dudes and my gun just keeps on fire. However, this is behavior that only happens with the small weak dudes. If you have a bigger enemy, and you kill it with this weapon, with this module, then your weapon stops. So why did I bring it like this? Originally I was gonna make it, or I made it so that any enemy that you kill was gonna stop the weapon. But when you have so many zombie men around and imps and all of those little dudes running around and you try to use this thing, it was super annoying that it was gonna stop every single time that you kill one of them. So that's why in here all the small enemies are not gonna be a problem for this weapon in the sense that it doesn't stop them. But for the bigger dudes that are gonna create bigger explosion and you want to control them, yeah, there's a bit of a penalty for killing them with the gun, which is of course the outfire stopping. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the mod. You can still freeze the enemies with it, but it's not gonna make you slow, your speed remains the same, and it's not gonna use all your ammunition at once. And on top of that, you don't even need to lock onto the enemies. However, you do need to have a bit of a steady aim in order to keep shooting at the enemy that you want. But yeah, that's the basic functionality of this weapon. Again, the bigger the enemy, the bigger the explosion. At the moment, of course, everything is work in progress regarding the balance. So it might deal more damage, it might deal less damage, we'll get around that. Please don't come at me saying that it's not dealing enough damage or whatever. We're still working on it. But now, after this longest introduction to the module, let's look at the upgrades. And thanks to some developer magic, we're gonna be looking at the first upgrade being the faster beam recharge. Really, it's a faster beam recharge. You know how I showed you, when you kill a big or a medium-sized enemy, your weapon suddenly stops because, you know, it kind of has to cool down from it. Once you have this upgrade, the cooldown, it's much shorter. You kill it, and there you go. It's ready to shoot again. So it doesn't make it extremely short, it doesn't make it instant by any means, but it's indeed shorter than it used to be, and that's definitely going to be helpful when you're dealing with bigger enemies and you want to keep using this module. So that's the first upgrade, not too much to say about it. The second one, it's also rather simplistic. It's the increased range. You know how I was showing you that at certain distance it wasn't hitting the wall anymore because you couldn't see the puff? Well, over here that distance it's greatly increased. You can see I'm really far away and the puffs are still coming if you can see them at all. So yeah, what this does is basically double your range for this thing. So that's pretty good for whenever you want to deal with enemies from far away, don't want to get close to them, and you know, you just want to keep them in place without them being a risk, like these fast ladies that I showed you in the last micro showcase. So let's have a look at the third upgrade, but actually before I do that, let me just very quickly talk about the falter state. In Doom Eternal, you know how when enemies they're attacking you, if you're shooting at them, they're pretty much just not gonna stop. They don't care. You might be blowing chunks of their face, but they're still coming at you. And instead, certain actions, certain weapons, upgrade, modules, abilities, whatever, is gonna make enemies falter, which makes them stop in their track for a second and then, you know, go back at chasing you. So that's known as a falter state in Doom Eternal. Doom 2 has always had something very similar to this, which is the regular pain state, which is triggered just in a random fashion whenever you're dealing damage. The weaker enemies have a very high pain chance for whenever they take damage to enter that state. However, you can see that these states are very short. It just interrupts them for a little bit and then they right away continue going at you. So this is the pain state, similar to the falter from Doom Eternal, but much quicker. So with that in mind, I still did want to bring something as a falter. So that's where this upgrade comes in useful, the third one, the concussive blast. This means that whenever an enemy is killed with this thing, with the explosion, the explosion is gonna make whatever enemies that are close to it to falter. You can see right there the long pain state. And this is true for any enemy that you kill with this thing. It's gonna falter. The explosion. Oh, come on, really? There you go, you see, he's faltered. So the falter in here is not incredibly long, it's not incredibly short. In fact, it's a bit of a random thing, but in general it's much faster than a regular pain state. So let's bring a big enemy, kill this dude, and notice how all of them are gonna falter. So that's what this does. It's useful, that's all I can say. There's not a whole lot to explain about it, just that any explosion that you create while using this, you can see right there, the jump got stopped. Any explosion that you create when you have this upgrade is gonna falter the enemies, like right there. So there you have it. That's the plasma rifle in a really long ass video. I know this has taken forever, and it's a really long video again, but I just really needed to show how these weapons work and how, in particular, the microwave beam, it's somewhat similar, but in a way it's very different. Again, balance, it's all over the place at the moment. I mean, it's approaching something that it's more to what I like it to be. But the reality is that changes are still gonna happen. So if you think this thing deals too much damage or too little damage, or the ammo, I don't know, things might change. It really depends on how I find its place in the big scheme. Because remember, all of this is work in progress. And again, I'm not trying to copy every single thing that Doom Eternal did and have the exact same damage values and health values, none of that. Instead, I'm trying to bring something that works with standard Doom 2 maps, with the monster count that Doom 2 has, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I know, it's different, but trust me, this is fun, it's gonna be fun, and I think you're gonna be enjoying it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I probably forgot another bunch of little details about the thing because this has taken me forever to code, and there's so many case scenarios to consider, but I think I have explained most of what I needed to show you. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you for the patience on waiting for me to release this video, even if now I do it bi-weekly. And yeah, for listening to all my nonsense, and GC Doom, thank you for freezing, I appreciate you. So once again, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you on the next video whenever that is. Until then, take care everybody, and stay safe.